Welcome to Irise Conversations with Joan. Welcome to Irise Conversations with Joan. My name is Joan Nwosu, and I'm the award-winning author of the book, Irise, the 10 Secrets to Getting Up When Life Knocks You Down. So imagine a world where boy meets girl, boy likes girl, girl likes boy, they fall in love, and they live happily ever after. We wish. Well, what the fairy tale romances forget to tell us is all the work, the hard work, I might say, that goes into having a happily ever after. With so many marriages ending in divorce and many on the brink of collapse, what does it really take to be in a happy, healthy marriage and keep the fire burning year after year? Our guest today is Dr. Jackie Black. She's a relationship expert, a marriage educator, and a board-certified coach to couples. She has worked with thousands of couples in 8 different countries over the last 35 years. She was named by Cosmo as one of their most beloved international love gurus. She helps couples who are crazy busy entrepreneurs and professionals make every day feel like they're on their honeymoon. We wish. She believes that falling in love is easy, but staying in love year after year is quite a different story. Her favorite strategy that makes her stand out amongst other relationship experts is that rather than finding the blame with one partner or another, she stands as the advocate for the relationship. She's the author of the Cracking the Code series of relationship-focused books. Welcome, Dr. Jackie, to the show.
Thank you so much, Joan. I'm very happy to be here with you today.
Thank you. This is such a topic that I think is really close to people's hearts. They're very passionate about it because it can make or mar your life. So before we get into talking all things relationship, how did your own journey begin? What led you to this point of becoming an international love guru?
You know, it was a very circuitous, I didn't start out being a psychologist. I started out in managing high-rise office buildings for pension funds, and found my way into the world of grief and loss, and worked a lot with people who in the cancer community, in the AIDS and HIV community, made my way through my PhD, and eventually eased out of commercial real estate management into helping people. It's what I'm here to do. It's my zone of genius. It warms my heart. And it really, one of the things that I can do easily is make really complicated concepts and really hard things that seem hard seem easy. Not simple, but doable, understandable. And I had, when I was first starting out, I did a lecture in a school, and I was up on a high auditorium stage. And a man popped up in the middle of my talk, and he was waving his hand, Dr. Jackie, Dr. Jackie. And he said, I didn't want to come here tonight. My wife dragged me. He said, but I love everything you're saying. Here's the thing. How do I do it? If you can help me figure out how to do it, I'm happy because I'm on board. It makes sense to me. And in that moment, it changed the nature of my work 100%. And so everything I do is through the lens of how can people apply this? How can they use it? Information alone, understanding a concept alone is worthless. People have to be able to apply it, to use it in their own lives, and to get the results that they want to get.
Absolutely. It makes a lot of sense. Theory is the easy part. Now, how do I get it done?
Exactly.
So amazing. So in terms of your own personal life, if you don't mind me asking, what has been your own experience in marriage?
I am once divorced and twice widowed. And it was interesting. I worked in the cancer community for years with couples and families before my second husband, Gary, was diagnosed with cancer. And then after Gary passed away, I was alone. I don't want to say single. I never felt single for 16 years, and really never thought about getting married again. Wasn't dating so much. I was very busy in my work. I have an amazing family. I have lots of interests and friends, and was traveling, blah, blah, blah. And then I met Mark, who changed my life forever. And Mark died from cancer in 2005. And what I learned being on the other side of cancer, being in a relationship with my husband, both husbands who were sick, brought to life in a different way all the things that I had learned and that I had known and experienced as a therapist, as a helping professional. And now I'm almost rabid because I really want people to be happy. If you're going to be in these relationships that I think they're the most important relationships in our lives, then I want you to be happy. I was in a restaurant with friends not long ago, and there was a couple sitting at a table not too far from us, and they were both on their phones. And I couldn't stand it. They were missing rich, amazing moments with each other, sitting there, not making eye contact, not talking. So I said to my friend, "Excuse me, I'll be right back." And I got up and I walked over to the table and I looked at a little, and I said, "Excuse me." I said, "Tomorrow isn't promised, and you're wasting today." And then I turned around and I walked away.
Wow.
So I think people need reminders, which is why I love doing amazing podcasts like this one with you. And I love speaking to groups because I think people need a wake-up call. They need a reminder before it's too late.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you were saying that, I was just laughing because, yeah, I do that as well sometimes, always on my phone. So what is it? Because a lot of, I'm divorced as well, so sorry for your loss of your other two husbands. But, you know, it's challenging. Busy professionals, it's very challenging trying to manage life and also be in a relationship. In your experience, what are the common challenges that show up? And why? Is it because people are just busy?
Do you know that entrepreneurs, the divorce rate among entrepreneurs is more than 10% higher than the national average in the US? And I'm imagining it's about the same in Canada.
Probably.
And for exactly the same reasons that you're asking about, are people busy? Are they that? So entrepreneurs, being married to an entrepreneur is a challenge. Why? Because entrepreneurs live and breathe what they're doing. We love it. We're energized by it. We're fed by it in the deepest parts in our soul. And the interesting thing is that the success skills in relationship are many of the same success skills in entrepreneurship. So we already do, as entrepreneurs, many of the things that will translate exquisitely to our relationships. For example, shared vision. We would not have a company or our work without having a vision, right? We have a vision, we have a mission. We know what it is. It's clearly articulated. Many individuals have visions, but I believe that couples need to have a shared vision. So what's my vision for my life? And what's your vision for your life? And what is our shared vision for our life? I think it's a key fundamental piece. Another thing is a lot of people and a lot of my colleagues talk about really communication.
Yeah.
I think that's bogus. We all communicate. You and I are communicating beautifully. It's not about communication because we communicate, we talk, we chat all the time. It's about vulnerability. It's about pulling back that curtain and being able to be vulnerable and to share our deepest truth. Not the truth, my truth. The things that make me who I am. The things that affirm me, esteem me, make me afraid, make me happy, grateful, joyful. And we don't articulate those things with each other. So there are little things like that. And if I just may say one more thing, it's really about behaviors and words to take specific actions every day, to say to your partner, have I told you lately how much you make my life amazing? That's all. Or take the trash out if he's always taking the trash out. Take the kids for breakfast and meet her for lunch. Bring your favorite ice cream in. Bring his favorite Chinese food in so that you don't, on a Saturday, so he doesn't have to worry about going out or well, whatever, little things. It doesn't cost a lot of money, although today everything costs a lot of money. But it's not about lavish gifts or big trips. It really is about attention and intention. And for me, it's not so much about work, but it's about focused attention and intention.
I like that, focused attention and intention. Okay, but I want to go back to some of the things that you said. I'm sure most people, it's the same thing. You go to a therapist and the first thing they start trying to fix is communication. And you just explaining it's not, because you do communicate, you're right. But I think it's just the way the world is, people start having differences. You're not living the same goals. You don't have a common vision. So it all makes sense if you don't have a vision for your relationship. So how do couples, because most people just jump into relationships and you just keep going, it's so hot in the beginning and after a while, everybody just starts to drift apart. How can a couple sit down to define what their vision is? What questions would they ask each other?
Yeah, it's a good question. One of the questions that I think couples should ask themselves, first, it's personal reflection.
Okay.
What do I want from this relationship? What do I want from you? How do I want to feel in your presence? How do I want to hear your voice? What are some of the behaviors that you can extend to me that will make me feel warm and yummy and loved? So first, we really have to know about ourselves. That's the first thing I say to couples when I do an intake is, what do you want? What do you want for you in this relationship? And shockingly, most people don't know.
No. No.
The second piece, so there's that whole world. The second piece is, what can he or she reasonably expect from you? Right? So who are you? How do you give? How do you extend empathy? Do you extend empathy? How good a listener are you? How do you show up? There are two critical words, and contribute and participate. Contribute and participate. And these are all of the seeds of being vulnerable. So you see, I first said we want to be open-hearted and vulnerable. And now these are some of the basic pieces, behaviors that will get us there.
Okay, I like, it's like it sounds simple. Again, most things are usually, in theory, they sound simple, but when you sit down to really reflect and introspect, then you find that it's a bit challenging, because a lot of people don't know who they are, first of all, let alone what they want or what they have to offer a partner in a relationship. So I think that those are really, really key questions to be able to ask, maybe even before you get into a relationship. But I think,
I hope so, before you commit.
Before you commit.
No, these aren't questions you want. They're not dating questions.
No.
Not even pre-commitment questions. But before you make that step from pre-commitment to commitment, these are questions that must be asked and answered. You want to do the personal reflection and the couple reflection. If I could just say one more thing, because I know this is a conversation, so I don't want to just go on and on. I do want to say that there are, what I teach couples is 3 kinds of conversation structures. So one is couple reflection, where it's a very easy, casual conversation, and they're reflecting back on their experiences with each other, to share information, to share their experiences with each other. It's not problem solving, it's not planning, it's really reflection. We don't do enough personal reflection and couple reflection. The second conversation structure is couples talk. Couples talk is a little bit more formal. You come to the conversation with a topic, something that you want to share, disclose, ask about, complain about in a very positive, productive way. And the third kind of conversation is couples dialogue. And that is a conversation structure that is for the purpose of being known, for the purpose of being known, not to, again, to problem solve or to deal with issues, but for the purpose of being known. When couples are fluid with these three conversation structures, they can talk about anything.
Makes a lot of sense. And, a lot of people who jump headfirst into relationships feel that it's common sense. I can just naturally, I should know how to have a conversation in a relationship. But you're mentioning these three, and even myself, I'm thinking, if someone came to me and said, let's reflect, I'll be thinking, okay, so what are you going to complain about now? But that's not what it's about. So I think, again, a lot of people would come in with a lot of baggage, a lot of damage, a lot of trauma, a lot of trust issues as well. A lot of, we don't want to be vulnerable. We don't want to expose ourselves. We don't want to show our weaknesses. So your guards are up. And exactly. Then, so it's just every time someone tries to talk to you, you feel attacked. What are you complaining about? I try my best. Well, if you're not happy with what I'm doing, then tough. This is all I got. And that's how, for me, at least in my experience, the relationship, the communication starts to break down. And you can't have those conversations. But I'm hearing you say, if you can master how to have those three conversations, then you can have any conversation. And I think the key to, what you said was have it in a positive way, not in a way that makes the other person feel attacked or diminished or, condescending. It's having the right conversations and speaking your truth in an honest and vulnerable way.
Yes. One of the other key pieces is to co-create secure attachment. What does that mean? It means that I make it job number one to think about you, to think about how you feel about something I might be doing. How did what I just say land for you? How did that make you feel? So that we are co-creating that safe place. We're not judging. We're not criticizing. We're not blaming. We don't shut down and go to our own corners, that we actively and with deliberate intention co-create that safe place for both of us to be. Because if people don't feel safe, Joan, they are not going to become vulnerable. They are not.
Yes. But it's tough. And again, we already started off with the busy professionals, the entrepreneurs, the people who are already bosses in one part of their lives. It's difficult. So how do people switch? How do you go from I'm a boss who's in charge, I get things done, I don't mess around, if things are not working, I guess I criticize you or I fire you. And then in the relationship, we're saying, think about the other person first, make it a safe space for them to have these conversations. I think it might be challenging for a lot of successful professionals, especially women. What are some of the ways that we can show up differently from work in our relationships?
The first thing is mindset, okay. Right? Mindset. And I'm going to give you just a quick example. If I have a boat and I have an airplane, when I'm on my boat, I drive my boat in accordance with, in alignment with, keeping the boat upright on the water, being careful of the wind, boat stuff. I'm actually not a boater. So, right, I drive my boat in accordance with, in alignment with best practices for boating. I do the same thing with my airplane. I don't go to my airplane and expect to drive it like I do my boat, and vice versa. I recognize that I am in a different environment and that I have different outcomes. I have different needs. I have different ways that I show up. Relationships are not different. I cannot expect my partner to react well to the same ways that I show up in the office as an entrepreneur, as a boss, as a leader, right? Mark used to say that we were co-CEOs. And he really understood that idea of co-creating and stepping into a relationship with me, not into a relationship the way he wants to have a relationship, but who am I and who are we together? and who is he and who are we together? So that first thing is the understanding that we are in a relationship. What does that mean? What does it mean to me? And what does it mean to the person that I'm in a relationship with? Because we can be in relationships with different people.
Yeah.
Mark and Gary, for example, my second husband and my third husband, were not the same. They were very, very different. And while I brought my authentic me to each marriage, I also co-created with them that which was authentic to us and who we were. And I had two very different marriages because I was married to two very different men. And I was a different person. So I was married to Gary as a younger woman after my divorce and married to Mark as a more mature woman.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
It absolutely makes sense. Absolutely, on so many levels. And I think that is one of the missing pieces in a lot of relationships today. There is me and there is you, but there's also an us. No one is talking about the us, the relationship itself. How are we co-creating that piece that connects us? It's always, well, this is who I am. I'm going to be my authentic self. I'm going to be who I am. Love me or love me. That's up to you. I'm not going to change for anybody. Forgetting that there's a separate entity, which is now the relationship that both parties need to be looking at. So I think that is an eye-opening missing piece for a lot of relationships. And I wish more people spoke about this. We'll probably have less.
And the we doesn't mean I lose me. The we is dependent on me really showing up and being me.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I again, key missing piece. I don't want to lose myself. You're not losing yourself. You're showing up as the person that you need to be for that relationship because you're dealing with a different person.
Exactly. And if being who you are,
it is still being
not well received, or if there's a little problem, find the door. Don't change yourself. You're in the wrong relationship. I know that's tough talk, and people go, well, no. Look, there's no compromise. There's no negotiating. There's no settling for less. Do you know that negotiating is a communication skill that was developed in business, right? Summaries, bottom lines, all that stuff was really about business. Those were never ways to communicate in a primary love relationship that was based on open-heartedness and vulnerability. So no compromise, no negotiating. When somebody compromises, I'll tell you, somebody is losing. Somebody's losing. I don't want my partner to lose. So one of the things that I always say is win, win, win. I win, you win, we win. If it's not win, 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 go back and sit down and keep talking because you haven't hit it yet. The thing that will provide the win, win, win. I win, you win, we win. I don't want you to lose. And again, if either one of us is going to lose, and it's just the left brain that says it's little, to the heart, a loss is a loss. People are going to back off and be less and less and less vulnerable and open-hearted with each other.
Love that. I'm going to keep using it now. So it's you win, I win, and we win. That should be the focus. It's not about negotiation, compromise, and settlement. Do not settle. We must all come out on top. And as we're saying that, I just for me, that's what leads to the resentment. When I feel like I'm losing, then the resentment starts to build. And we'll get into resentment in a minute. So where those, because I used to be married, and I know that a lot of the challenges that we had lots of challenges, but some of the challenges were not us together as a couple. It was more external. So like the in-laws and family members, and some people might have, kids or even pets, or you might even have financial issues that come into the relationship and kill the romance. How do you handle those type of issues when they become quite overwhelming?
You depend on your values, family values, values about money, being a good steward of money or not. How do you handle money? How do you think about earning, spending, saving, investing, and building wealth? That was my second book is Couples and Money, Cracking the Code to the #1 Conflict in Marriage. So you want to look at those areas. I'll say them again: earning, spending, saving, investing, and building wealth. We all have a money psychology. We all have money histories. Money doesn't grow on trees. Sometimes we think people with a lot of money are evil. There's so many things related to money. And so if we talk through our values, our beliefs, how we were raised, some of our family values, and we really get to know each other. I have a great story. So I had a client, and she was buying a lot of shoes, and he was having a fit, and they were each very successful in their own right and very successful as a couple. It wasn't the money. He just said, you don't need so many shoes. So when they came in, they were already clients of mine, and they were having this, you don't need so many shoes, I'm going to buy as many shoes as I want conversation. And I said to him, what would you prefer she do with her money? And he said, invest it. She doesn't invest. And I said to her, what do you think about that? She said, I don't know what he's talking about when he talks about investing. And so in her family, they didn't invest. They didn't have an investing mindset. She didn't know what that meant. They didn't really save a lot of money. Her father did. He took care of the money, and he was doing all of that, but it wasn't part of what they ever talked about. So they went home and they spent the next week, and he was talking about investing, his idea about it, what he thinks, how he does it, the strategies. She got so excited about investing. It wasn't that she stopped buying a lot of shoes. She included and added, joined him in that whole other area about how to handle money. And he never thought about shoes again. It wasn't the shoes. It was that she didn't have a mindset. She didn't have an awareness or an excitement about investing for the future.
If you don't have a coach, now is the time to sign up and get a coach, because I'm sure a lot of my listeners, that's not how they handle those conversations. Is you're wasting money, you don't know how to do with money, you're this, you're that, you're too thrifty, you're stingy to yourself, you don't care about me because you don't want to spend money on me.
Exactly, all that.
But the way you just explain it, it's like, wow. People have different mindset, different belief systems about everything, basically. And some people will of the opinion that your values have to align. But what you're explaining now, you can have different values. But again, if you think about the relationship, then you're more open and more willing to say, okay, let me learn a little bit more about this and see and work with this person because it's key for them in the relationship. I think it's a lot of work, a lot of unlearning, a lot of mindset issues, a lot of trauma, a lot of baggage people are going through, carrying all over and bringing it into a relationship and having the wrong expectations of their partners. Why wouldn't you know about investing? Everybody invests. No, not everybody invests.
Right. And not everybody wants to take care of their parents when they're older. Not everybody wants to take care of a brother who might have special needs. I remember dating somebody, and very early he said to me, so my brother is special needs. This is a situation. When my parents die, he will live with me, period. It's not a conversation. This is what it is for me. Yes. And I loved that he said that and that he was so clear. And we were only dating, but it would have been continue to be something that I knew about him. Mm-hmm. And I would have taken that on or not try to change it, not try to say, well, I think that he could. No, right? It's that kind of thing. Yeah. So if we know about each other's values, then we have more information to make an informed decision about, is this the right person for me? If someone had a lot of money and they were squandering it, I won't define what that means to me, but I'm a good steward of money. No matter how much money I have, it's really important to me. Money is energy. Then we wouldn't be in alignment just in terms of that value, just in terms of that way that I see the world and money.
So are there some values that are, because I know money is the number one challenge that most couples have. There's some values that are deal breakers, like no, or okay, so our values don't align, but I can, again, it goes back to, is this a compromise? If I say, you have this mindset, I have a different mindset, you have a different value, a way of, are there some values that should be deal breakers, or should we be fluid and accepting of people the way they are? Or do you just decide for you what
No. We should not be fluid and accepting of people the way they are. That is doom and gloom. I think that this is just my personal opinion, my personal coaching opinion, that couples that survive, couples that thrive, couples that have lasting relationships have about 4 or 5 shared values.
Okay.
And it's for those couples to decide what those shared values are. For me, one of them would be monogamy. Another one would be being in integrity is one of my biggest top values. So I don't necessarily hold a value for kindness or for respect. Those are values. And because I hold a value, a very high value for integrity, I am kind.
Yeah.
I am respectful, right? So be careful when you're looking at values and you say, well, this value isn't the same. There's a lot of overlay between values, a lot of overlay. I hold a value for being on time. If you're going to be late, 15 or 20 minutes before you're going to be late that you're going to be late. Don't call me at the last minute. I think that's disrespectful. I think it's rude. I'm never going to not think that. And so anybody that knows me knows it's not about being late. It's about letting me know you're going to be late. So so that I'm not sitting there waiting, that I can do other things with my time. If you're going to be late, you're going to be late. Sometimes people run late. There's traffic. There's all kinds of things. So it's not about the being late. It's how do you handle being late? I want to get to the airport. Well, when you had to get to the airport an hour before, I wanted to get to the airport 3 hours before. Now you have to get to the airport 3 or 4 hours before. Mark, God love him, he wanted to run through the airport and race up the jetway as they were closing the door. He thought it was a waste of time to sit in an airport lounge. Okay. So we were taking a big trip. And I said to him, I need to get to the airport really early. Last time I did it your way and I was nervous and my stomach was turning. It didn't feel good to me. It wasn't good for me. I'm going to get a car. We used to take a car to the airport. I'm going to take a car. You come whenever you want to come. Meet me in the waiting area. Meet me in the lounge, meet me on the plane. You meet me wherever, whenever you get there, I'll be there waiting for you and I'll be happy to see you. He said, that is a great idea. So it's about an hour before my car is coming, several hours before his car is coming. And he came into my office and he said, wait. I don't want to go separate from you. This is crazy. He said, I want to go with you. And I said, okay, if you want to go with me, then you get a journal on because I'm leaving in an hour. And he said, okay. He figured out that it was more important for him to travel with me from the time we left the house. Yeah. He really wanted that. Yeah. And he didn't, and he'd always said, no, I'm not going to. But when faced with an alternative that worked for both of us, it didn't work so well for him.
So his values, of being with you all the time was more important to him.
He didn't know, right? He didn't know until he was faced with not having that experience.
Yeah. Wow. Lots to learn. Again, relationships, I wish it was common sense. I wish we could just maneuver it and navigate it without any, we just can't. We so much to the table. So in terms of relationships that they're not necessarily turbulent, but there's just no spark, there's no flame, the fire is all gone, there's kids, everyone's focused on paying the bills, especially with what's happening right now. How can they, I know you already mentioned intention and attention, but what are some easy ways that couples can start to reignite that flame? For some people, they might be saying, it's been too long, look, we haven't had sex in 5 years, we sleep in separate bedrooms, not interested. But what are the ways that they can start to reignite that fire?
They first have to be interested. They have to recognize it as a loss, and they have to want to change it. If they recognize it as a loss and they want to change it, my experience with couples, 35 years, over 1,000 couples, is that the thing that is missing is the willingness to be vulnerable. They took a step back and then another step back, and then it was like micro steps back, 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 back. And now they are disconnected. They might even be alienated from each other. So the very first chunk of work to do is to figure out if they are alienated and what the level is of disconnection. Before they try to reconnect, they have to heal the resentment and the thing that got them to where they are. Something real happened over a period of time repeatedly. That has to be identified and it has to be healed before there's any reigniting the spark. That said, when that happens in the process of the healing process, that spark reignites. We don't have to do anything artificial. It naturally begins to build and come back because we like each other. We enjoy each other's company. We want to be together. We're laughing together. And so it builds, and before they know it, they are reconnected. And that is a synonym for the spark reigniting.
Okay, that's interesting. I think the one thing, key thing I caught is they both have to be willing. What if one person is willing and the other is like, there's nothing wrong with us. Like, we're not broken. We're fine. I'm fine. What's your problem? Why are you unhappy? I can't make you happy. What does that one person who wants to reignite the marriage do in such a situation if the other party is not willing?
I had clients in Geneva, Switzerland a number of years ago, and that was their relationship. And she said, can I do this work alone? So we started digging into how she was showing up and how she wasn't, and how she was hurt and she was withholding and all kinds of things. And she began to understand herself better and to reconnect with herself. And the more she did that, the more she was able to bring some more of herself slowly into the relationship. After about 3 months, he came home early on a Wednesday afternoon. That's when I would speak to her, was Wednesday in her morning. And her husband said, so what did Dr. Jackie have to say today? He was noticing over a period of time some changes that were going on inside her, and he liked them. And so he came home every Wednesday afternoon from then on, and they would have a glass of wine and they would sit and they would chat about, not about what did I say, but how she was changing, how she saw things, how she was, what she was feeling, what she was needing and wanting. And she changed and then was able to positively impact him and their relationship. Yeah, where they may not have stayed married too much longer. She wasn't sure how much longer she wanted to be in the marriage. But what was shocking to her was he revealed to her he didn't know how much longer he wanted to be in the marriage. And he thought everything was fine. And I always say, if one person is unhappy, your partner is unhappy. Don't think that you're unhappy and everything is fine with your partner. That is never true.
Yeah, it's never true. I agree. So I love that. That's so encouraging. So even if your partner is not willing to go with you to do the work, get started on the work on yourself, because we all need to heal. If the marriage is broken down and the disconnection and you're alienated from each other, it's both of you. So you can start working on yourself, and that could impact the relationship. I think that's very encouraging for people who might be in that situation. Okay, good. So I know you mentioned, like the couple you just mentioned. At what point is it too late? Is it ever too late to salvage a disconnected marriage?
So I'm the holder of possibilities. So in my view, it's never too late. For couples, when they are each finished, when there is no longer any interest, any willingness to hear each other, to look for places of intersection. Ever play the pickup sticks when you were a kid? We've got those places of intersection, not connection, but intersection. If you can't find those places, you don't want to find those places, you're too hurt and you're really done. You know, sometimes airplanes get to the point of no return. They literally don't have enough fuel to turn around and go back. When two people decide that that's true for each of them as individuals, then it's probably true for them as individuals. Though I said that having worked with couples who both had attorneys. So even though they felt powerless, they felt like there's no chance, no hope, they really weren't done. You know, they really didn't, deep down, they didn't want to get divorced. And they said, all right, fine, we'll do this one more time.
Wow. I like, again, yeah. I think people know when they're done, done. And sometimes they don't even know when they're done. So it's when they're done, then it's done. But if it's, I'm thinking about it being done, then maybe there's still hope. And again, it's just going back through the process, healing and trying to find those areas of intersection. I think people look for the connection first. I think that's always the focus. We're not connected anymore. Look for the intersection, the areas of intersection. Okay, so for people who are thinking, okay, I don't want divorce to be my story right now. I'm single, but it's too late for me. Is it ever too late to get into a relationship? I should have gotten married in my 20s. Now I'm in my 40s. I'm set in my ways. Is it easier? First of all, do people who get married earlier have less challenges? And is it ever too late to find someone when you're more mature?
Yeah, it is. You never have fewer challenges. Never.
Oh, okay.
Never. You have different challenges.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I always say that the problems and the issues in relationships are generational, right? It's not that we have we don't have these problems. We have different problems in different places in our lives. I'm too set in my ways. Whatever you believe is true is. If you think you're too set in your ways, don't get into a relationship. I mean, if that is your belief about yourself and you're holding on to that, that's your story. So let relationship be one of the things that you're not going to do. If you want to connect with another human being and share the yumminess and the sweetness that co-creation with another person has as a possibility, then you probably want to be in a relationship. But there's nothing wrong with people who don't want to be in a relationship. Nothing wrong with people who have decided that relationship isn't for them now. Maybe it is later, isn't. So you can decide either way, but don't let outside forces, your age, your health, money issue, don't let those outside factors determine your heart. My grandmother was married when she was 75. She was remarried. My grandfather had passed away 10 years earlier, and he was 80, she was 75. Oh my God, they were so cute together. They held hands. He brought her flowers. They lived in Chicago. They went to have high tea at one of the hotels, the Ritz, I think. There's Carlton. Every Friday, he played gin rummy on Saturday with the men, and he'd come home and he'd take her to lunch and all kinds. They had the best time. They went, they didn't travel so much at that point, they were married. I think they were married 5 years. I think he died when she was 80. The best 5 years. Such a different relationship than the one she had with my grandfather, and he with his wife, who had passed away. It was so sweet. They were so cute. They had such a good time together. And she outlived him. She was 80. She died when she was 98. Wow. So she had a lot of years without him, but such a fun, sweet 5 years. Never too late.
75. I'm like, yeah, let's do this. I think if my mom is listening, yeah, my mom's 75. So yeah, go for it. But
absolutely.
I think that is it's such good news. It's just a message of hope, because I know that a lot of people have given up. A lot of people, especially people married before divorce, they're like, no, I'm done. There's no one else out there for me. There is someone out there for you. You can find love again, even at 75. I think that's a message of hope. But I think bigger than that is what you alluded to, where if you believe that you are set in your way, then don't bother getting into a relationship. And we as a society in general, we need to normalize people not wanting to be in a relationship. I think there's just
Yes.
a lot of pressure out there to be in a relationship. If you're not in a relationship, you're seen as incomplete, or there's got to be something wrong with you, or she's single. We should normalize people and respect people's decisions and desires to not be in a relationship. But I think it starts with you first. If you know that deep down inside, maybe you feel you're too set in your ways, maybe then don't get into the relationship. Don't make someone else's life miserable because you're not ready to give what is required to be in a relationship, to have all the yummy, co-creation that you mentioned. I think self-inflection is very important and key at this point.
I had a client a couple of years ago whose husband had passed away, I don't know, 8 or 10 years earlier. And she never thought she'd get married again. And she met someone who was fabulous. She loved him and she loved being with him. And she was so conflicted because part of her did not want to get married and have that whole married thing.
Yeah.
And another part of her just loved being with him. So we did a lot of work around that, and where she could finally, because what did I say to her first? What do you want? What she finally decided, you're going to love this. What she finally decided she wanted to see him Wednesday afternoon and to have a bite of dinner. And I think he would spend the night.
Okay.
And then she wanted to see him every other weekend, every Wednesday night, afternoon, evening, have breakfast in the morning, and then he would go wherever he wanted to go on Thursday morning. And then every other weekend. She did not want to live together. She loved her house. She didn't want to worry about what she had to give up or change or move, right? So she mentioned it to him. Well, they were having conversations about, I want to spend more time with you. I want to do. And she said, all right, I finally have decided I know what I want. It's taken me a really long time. Here's what it is. And she shared it with him and he went, let me think about that. And he went home to think about it. And he called her about 15 minutes after he got home and he said, you know what? I really like that. I like the consistency of Wednesday afternoon to Thursday morning. I like that I'm in my home a lot of the time. I love that we're going to spend weekends together. And sometimes that was Saturday and Sunday. Sometimes it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Sometimes it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, right? Depending on if they were taking a little trip or if they had tickets to this or that. So we have to be open-minded. We have to break all the stereotypes and the roles and the rules.
Rules, it has to be this way. Yeah.
Right? We have to step back from that and figure out what we want and make what we want and make our lives look like we want them to look and feel.
Dr. Jackie, I think you just made my year.
Oh, yay.
Because honestly, I know I deep down inside, I know what I want, but I think society, friends, family, even though they do mean well, but it's the pressure. Why are you not living together? Well, maybe I don't want to live with anyone. And what's wrong with that? Oh no, the relationship has gotten to the point where you need to live together. You need to be married. You need to buy a house together. No, you need to do what you want, what's good for you. And I think that is so, a lot of people don't know what they want. They're just going with what we've seen on in the movies, you've seen on TV, read in books. It's all romance, boy meets girl, boy moves in, boy loves girl, boy proposes, you live together, happy day ever after. That's it. No, I think it's time for people to start writing their own stories about what they really want in a relationship. How do they want it to look like? And have a conversation, like you said. Speak your truth.
Yes.
You made my ear.
Definitely.
I think there'll be fewer arguments, at least in my world, if I was really able to speak my truth about what I desire in a relationship. Yeah. Phenomenal stuff. Phenomenal stuff. Okay. So for people who are feeling like, okay, now, I'm single, I'm thinking I want to get into a relationship, I can do this. It doesn't matter what age I am or what weight I am or what my health concerns or financial status. How do they set themselves up to have a divorce-proof relationship? I want to do this right. I haven't been in a relationship in 10 years. What can they do now to help them create that beautiful, happy ever after?
Yeah, divorce proof and affair proof.
Affair proof. Yeah.
Yeah, both. Okay. So the first thing that you want to do is self-reflection. And you want to really get honest with yourself about what you want. What do you want from another person? How do you want them to be with you? How do you want to feel? What do you want to experience? What will you give? Can they reasonably expect from you? And then the dating process is daunting. I am not a proponent of online dating. Although I have a colleague, her name is Lori Mendelson. Lori is one of the all-time masterful dating coaches online. I think that if you're going to date online, you have to use those platforms to meet each other and then get to a Skype call immediately or a FaceTime immediately. We have relationships in real time. We cannot date on all of our devices. Yes. So have a conversation and then meet in person. We all have an essence, we have an energy, and we have to experience that with each other before we hear your story. And we do a lot of self-disclosure and a lot of, I don't want to get into your story until I know that I'm comfortable in your presence, that I like being with you, how you hold yourself, how you smell. There's all those things that are so important that we can't do on an app or even on FaceTime. So save some time, have a FaceTime or a Skype or a Zoom conversation once or twice, and then get to a coffee shop, have coffee, take a walk in the daytime. Don't do dinner. And then spend some time with each other, short periods of time, 20 minutes, a half hour. And then do you not want the 30 minutes to end? That's a good sign. Do you really enjoy listening to their stories? How comfortable do you feel? How respected do you feel sharing your stories? There is a dating ladder that I developed a long time ago, that you have 5 dating events. You're not in a relationship. You go out 5 times to decide if you like the person, if they like you, and if you want to see them more. If you have 5 dating events and you like each other, then you can be in a dating relationship. All the exits are open. Nobody owes you anything. There's no closure. There's nothing. There's no ghosting. There's no such thing. Is it rude? It's rude. But maybe somebody doesn't want to see you again, and so they just go away. That is their prerogative. That's dating. There's no commitment for anything, even the commitment to be nice. If they're not nice, it's like, I'm glad they're gone because they don't hold the same values for being in integrity that I do. What? But there's no closure. Well, there's no closure. You didn't connect. You weren't vulnerable, right? You didn't make any agreements or commitments. There's no attachment. So there's no closure. That's what dating is. All the exits are open. And you date each other. When you're dating 9 months, 10 months, 16 months, then you're learning a lot about yourself and the other person. It's not so much about telling the story of your life. It really isn't. People love telling the story and all that. No, it really is about how do you show up every day in the present, because that's what I'm buying. I'm buying you in the present. I'm not too interested about the past. There are some people some colleagues of mine who say, well, somebody might have a relationship history. Yeah. Okay, but they're not who they were. It's not that other time, and they're with you. So I wouldn't indict somebody for a history or a relationship history. See what is going on between you personally. So there's now you're in a dating relationship, all the exits are open. At some point, you want to mindfully and intentionally, bilaterally. I know we're doing it. I know we're doing it. You know we're doing it, and I know we're doing it. Bilateral agreement that we are going to be exclusive. That might mean our time. It might mean sexually exclusive. It could mean different things to different people. It might mean I'm being sexually exclusive with you and I'm still dating.
Oh.
Oh, yes. There's a lot of gray in that we're moving to exclusivity. Well, what does that mean exactly?
Gotcha.
Okay, so then you move from exclusivity to pre-commitment. Well, what does that mean? It means, what will this relationship look like if we are committed? What are the commitments and the agreements that we want to make, not to each other, to the we? We do not make agreements and commitments to each other. Those are the pillars and the foundational pieces of the we. So with the pre-commitment stage, if we can call it that, is what are we doing here? What is life going to look like? What do we want our life to look like? How am I going to contribute? What am I going to contribute? Time, energy, focus, intention, attention, money. You have to have all those conversations. And the older you get, the more important those conversations are. Because when you get to be our age and successful, there's money stuff, right? When you don't have any money and you're 25 years old, it's a really different thing. You know, maybe you don't have a shared bank account. Yeah. Maybe we're going to have a bank account that we each fund every month, and we put so much money in it and we pay our bills if we're going to live together. But I fund it and I know what the amount of money is, and there's no other money going in there to fund our life. Well, you make a lot more money than I do. How does that go? Well, maybe it's the same percentage. Maybe that's equal. Maybe, right? So there's so many conversations about that, but money and how we're going to do that. And I have an open door policy. My kids can come over whenever they want. And you say they need to call and schedule time to meet with us. Well, how do we work that out? Is there something that maybe they can come in the afternoons? Maybe they don't do it on the weekends. Let's talk about it. Mark was a golfer. I have played golf for many, many years. When I met him, he was in the golf business and he was a golfer. He played golf 7 days a week.
Wow.
That's it. And I used to pull a golf cart out of the garage and set it all up for him and put his water in and all this stuff. I loved that he played. I never hassled him. I understood it was going to be 5 hours. I loved it because he loved it. And I loved the energy he came home in. And he kept saying, oh my God, I can't believe that you're not haranguing me. Here's what he used to say. I said, oh, you're going to go in another 5 hours. It's like, no, have a good time.
Yeah.
What I did say to him at some point very early was, I wonder if you could not play golf with other people on Sunday, and if we could play together. He loved that. Sometimes we played with friends, sometimes the club paired us up. I mean, so you have to ask for what you want. It wasn't like, I don't want you to play golf. Could you play golf with me on Sundays, or have us decide to watch a football game and not play golf? So you have to talk about these things. And again, it's not negotiating, it's not compromising. I asked for what I wanted. He didn't think of it and he loved it. So that's what pre-commitment is. By the time you get to commitment and you're going to be married, or you're going to not be married, but you're going to commit in whatever that ritual is for you, you already have all these things done. They're known to each of you. And so now you get to just be in your life and be happy together. When things come up, you have a process to deal with them. You know how to have conversations. You know how to listen. There are only three things that you listen for. I developed a model for listening for men many, many years ago, because men want to fix it for us.
Yeah.
When we go, oh, I don't want you to fix it. Yes, we do. Tell the truth. We do. And what we want first is for you to hear our feelings. After you've heard my feelings, then I want you to fix it for me. Right. We love that they want to be our hero.
Yeah.
That's an archetype that really feels to our senses yummy and wonderful. But there are a few pieces that they need to have so that they bridge that gap between men and women.
Wow. Hey, my listeners, I hope you're taking all of this in. And this is so, like, I've been divorced. I've been in many, many relationships, and I could see where, I could have done things differently, but it's not too late to go back and start working on this stuff, because you can have the happily ever after. You can have an affair-proof, divorce-proof relationship. It is possible, but you have to do the work. You have to have the right conversation. You have to go through the process. I think a lot of people jump from boy meets girl, let's get married. And you don't want to take different steps of taking the time to date the person, to get exclusive, to get into the pre-committed stage before you even start thinking about commitment. I think it's day one, let's jump in. 2 weeks later, so are we getting married or what? What are we doing here? I think this is the way to have a good, healthy relationship, where even if things do show up, because they will, you always have challenges, but at least now it's a process, and you have a foundation. You've talked about what your values about around money or kids or whatever it is. You know where everyone stands, and now you can just have a conversation around it, as opposed to, I never knew you were like that. Well, you never told me. Well, you never asked. Now you've been through all of that because you've taken time to get to know the person. And I love what you said about it's not about the history, because they were they're now in a different time in their life with a different person. I think that is so key. And we already talked about it before. Everybody you are in a relationship with, it's different. So you have to adapt. Each person. And I love what you said about essence as well. I'm also like, where are we supposed to meet these days if we're not meeting online? Yeah, so meet online, but quickly transition into in person, because you know when someone's energy just feels yucky. It's just like something about you just, it's a bit off. And you also know when you're around someone and you're like, oh, you feel like you're 16 and you're smiling and So don't spend all your time online just chatting and texting all day. Get quickly into in-person and then start the process. But take the time at every step, the dating phase, do what you're meant to do, trying to get to know the person, not trying to judge them. Really get to know them and start building what that we is. But even before all of that, if you're single, now is the time to go within and figure out, what do you want? What do you want for yourself from a relationship, and what are you going to give as well into the relationship?
And when you're dating, ask questions. Don't talk so much, right? God gave us one mouth and two ears. Ask questions so that you get good information from people. And it's not like an interview. So for example, I might say I used to travel over 100,000 miles a year. I love to travel. The travel bug bit me, and that was that. So if I were dating, I might say to somebody, what was your favorite international city that you've been in this year, right? Not in your lifetime. I want to know if they've left the country this year, right? What's your favorite hotel in Paris? Like, I want to know. And if someone says, well, I haven't been to Paris in 25 years, that tells me something. Well, I don't even have a passport anymore. Do you know that 60% of Americans don't have passports? It's like, wait, what? Yeah. So people, I love flea markets. Oh my God, I love flea markets. So I might say, one of my favorite things to do when I travel anywhere is to go to a flea market, no matter where I am. And I want to know what that reaction is. I want to know, how many flea markets have you been to? Because I'm going to tell you something. I took a long train ride outside of Vienna to go to one of the best flea markets I've ever been in. It was fabulous. And then I've been to other flea markets with friends, or sometimes my kids, and they go, how much longer are we going to be here? It's cold. My feet are really tired. So I want to really have conversations about are you a flea market person? Because if you're not a flea market person and you don't love it, if it's raining or if it's freezing cold, you're not going to want to be there.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, what do you love to do? What excites you? I would never, if I was dating, I would never date anybody who was into water sports, hiking, camping, boating, skiing. It's one of the reasons I didn't move to Montana. I love Montana, but I wouldn't have had any friends because I wouldn't have been out water skiing and snowshoeing. And it's not right. It's not who I am.
Yeah.
Right. So know who you are. And if you're a couch potato or you love movie marathons, tell the truth about that.
I love it. Be your authentic self and spend the time dating. I think ask questions. I think that's such a phenomenal just ask questions. Don't start reading up about your life. Oh, I didn't ask questions so that you can actually take that time to get to know the person and see if this is really what you want. Thank you so much, Dr. Jackie. So much wisdom, so much words of wisdom and knowledge. Like, it's so glaring. And again, for anyone who's listening, go to her website, go educate yourself. I wish this was common sense or common knowledge. It's not. There's a lot of work that we need to do on ourselves, let alone on the relationship. But again, there's me, there's the person I'm in a relationship, and then there's the relationship. We need to learn more. We need to know more so that we can do better to have that happily ever after. Any final words for our listeners?
I would just say that there is help. You're not alone. And sometimes when we feel helpless, we also feel alone and like there's no way out and nobody to help us. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you and to your listeners, viewers. Such an honor.
Thank you. Such an honor for us as well. And thank you so much for being here with us. And I really do hope that everyone listening, you go ahead and have a beautiful, amazing relationship, because I do also believe that this is the number one relationship for all of us, to find that person that really makes you happy and you can live happily after every day. Thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you to all my listeners for listening. I hope you did get a lot of benefit from today's episode and topic. And well, for now, take care of yourself, and I will see you same time next week on Irise Conversations with Joan. Thanks for listening.